Hello, hello, hello. It's Wednesday and we are live. Just give me a moment to make sure everybody can see me everywhere, and we will get started in just a moment. And I hear myself. Now, where am I playing from that I'm hearing myself? One second. All right, I'm going to unmute and see if I can find where the echo is coming from. I apologize for that. You never know what's going to happen. I think Facebook's giving me a so weird. One second, guys. Hey, one second. So if you're just joining, just hold on a moment. We're trying to figure out where there's an echo coming from. This should be, all right, let's try there. Let's see if I still have echo. All right, so far so good. Let's try one more time to open my Smoothie Short Facebook page. I think Leo solved it. Let's find out. Okay. All right, we might hear from a second here. Okay. Phew. I did not want to have to stream Wellness Wednesday in stereo. That would be a really awful April Fool's joke to do that to all of you. So, hey, everybody, it's Dr. Brooke Goldner. And now that the technical difficulties are done, we can start Wellness Wednesday. This is when I come to you every week to help answer your questions about health, to inspire you, to educate you, and to get you on a path of living a better life. That is my goal. So I'm always excited to come on here. And I thought today we could just really do a dedicated Q&A. Haven't done that in a while. I usually do some teaching in the beginning, although I can't help myself. I would love to share a result that I just had from the gentleman I just got off the line with. So this gentleman's 58 years old and he's in kidney failure. He's on dialysis and he had high blood pressure and diabetes. And then when he got COVID, the first round of COVID, ended up on a ventilator and his kidneys just went. I don't know if any of you remember the uptick in kidney failure that happened during the first wave of the pandemic and through the pandemic. But he was really, really sick, kidney function very low. And here, let me open this up. And so when he came to me, his kidney function was only getting worse. And I thought it'd be cool to show you this trend because this is what it usually looks like when someone goes into kidney failure versus what's happening now. So the measurement that we use to measure kidney function, to most commonly, although there are some other high level methods, the most common method that's used in just a general lab is your creatinine. And the creatinine, once the normal range, okay, is going to be like 0.7 to 1.5-ish, okay, to say that your kidneys are functioning well enough. Once you start going above that, then you're considered to be in some stage of chronic kidney disease. Once your creatinine goes above 5, that's considered kidney failure. So this gentleman, when he met with me, right in the beginning of December, he already, his kidney function was over 11, his creatinine was over 11. And I wanted to show you the trend. We meet every month or two, and he's just doing so well. He's committed to doing the full protocol, and he's doing so well. But I wanted to show you what this looks like. See if I can share just this window. Perfect. Yeah. So you can see before we met, you see how it just kind of goes up. There's some vacillation, but it's like 10.4, 10.5, 10.05, and then 11.7, 11.6, 11.5, right? But it's the general trend is you're seeing a highest high continuing to go up. And then this is when we met, and then you can see 11.15, 10.71, 9.05 as of January. And actually, we just met. I don't have this as his previous chart that he had, but we have the newest result just came in that his creatinine is now 7. So even though it was on its way up through 2025 and since COVID, it's been on the way down on my plan, and that was January. And he said that his doctor just told him that he is officially at 7. And I asked her, I asked him, what does your doctor say about all this? And she said, he said, well, she just says, whatever it is that you're doing, stop doing, or keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Whatever it is, however this is happening. And he had told her when he was going to go on this plan. And she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand why, but she's really enthusiastic. She can't believe it. That is just food. And here's the thing is, like I said, the cutoff for failure is a creatinine of 5. And in just a matter of months, he's gone from 11 to 7. And so we are really hoping that he can get there to that 5. We don't know. That's the thing, working with people with kidney failure for all these years, and I've published getting someone off the transplant list in 6 weeks. We work with people with kidney failure all the time. And regardless of the cause, for the most part, people have the ability to get some function back. It's very rare I meet someone who cannot get anything back. When it happens, I can think of 2 people, actually. One was someone whose kidney failed because of a toxic reaction. He reacted to a dye, and it shut down his kidney completely, and they were dead, and they had been, by the time I met him, they had been dead. And actually, the only reason that we even worked together was because he was on the transplant list, and then the first wave of COVID hit, and he couldn't get his transplant. The hospitals were shut down. And so his wife is a doctor, and she called me and said, could you do rapid recovery with him to see if we can keep him going until they can give him the transplant? I told her that there's, I didn't think it would help because he'd already had this complete shutdown for so long. She's like, it can't hurt, potentially could help. So let's just try it. And you know what? Weight came down, cholesterol came down, all these wonderful things happened. Kidney function stayed the same, but kept him good until he had his transplant. So that was one scenario. Another gentleman I saw recently, GFR under 5, kidney function under 5, like super, super high, probably half the kidney function of the gentleman I just showed you. And so his creatinine level, it got improved a tiny bit, but about the same. But he's been on dialysis for many years. But he said it was still the best thing he ever did because he used to be so tired, he would just work from home and then be tired to do anything. And now he's spending more time at church. He's working out. He says he feels healthy. So even though he still needs dialysis, he feels healthy. But those are the 2 cases I can think of where we didn't see the creatinine come down and GFR come up significantly and quickly, because if the kidneys can get better, they do. So with this gentleman, he's already now just on dialysis 2 times a week. So if we can get another bump, he could potentially cut back another time and maybe only 1 day a week. And people on dialysis, that's life-changing, just to be able to travel more and be present more and other things. So I just thought that was exciting. I wanted to share it with you. My work is exciting. Every day is just such a gift for me to get to really help people get better. I mentioned before, I have my 2 best friends from medical school are doing different things now. One is a fiction writer, and one is still practicing medicine, but doing life coaching on the side, helping with burnout and other things that they've had to branch out because they just felt so burnt out by, people just not getting better. And it's not what you go to school for. You go to school thinking you're going to save all these lives. And with medicine as usual, you get patients for life usually. And instead, I get the opposite. I actually get to see people get well and graduate from my practice and go on to do other things. And then they send all their family members, and it's super nice. So I wanted to just give you an example of just what happened. We just got off the line 10 minutes ago. So I wanted to show you that. Anyway, I thought it would be a cool thing to dedicate the session to Q&A. We just had my classes up all month last month for Autoimmune Awareness Month. And so I hope you got a chance to look at those and start trying and have some really good questions based off of knowing the information so that we can really help everybody who's on the line right now get to the next level. Also, as usual, I love it when I hear the celebrations. I've been making some fun videos showing the celebrations, and I'd love to celebrate you. People tell me all the time that the thing that put them over the edge on actually doing this was a story, either my story of recovery, lupus-free 20 years, right? But even more so, all these other folks who are writing in and going, yes, me too, RA, me too, MS, me too, diabetes, me too, what do we even pick? Fibromyalgia, right? That when you start to see other people, oh my gosh, I also have a PCOS or whatever it is that you're recovering from, when you see other people that are doing this and getting better, it creates this extra hope and motivation. So love it when you all celebrate together. And if I see it while we're live, I'll celebrate it with you right here. If not, I will make a post about it and celebrate with you as well. So let me see here. Yeah, other people saying, I love healing miracles. Yes, absolutely. Okay. With the kidney thing, I see some of you commenting. When I was in medical school, a long time ago, decades ago, I was taught that kidneys get worse with age, that it was just inevitable. And now I've worked with multiple people actually in their late 80s and 90s who have been able to bring their kidney function back up. I had a gentleman in his 90s, doubled his kidney function in 2 months, eating on my nutrition plan. It's not age, it's how long have you been poisoning your kidneys with crappy eating? And if you change what you do, even when you're old, as old as we all want to be, you can still get them back. So it just shows me that kidneys are especially susceptible to abuse from diet. And we know this to be true. There's been decades of research done showing, for example, that the kidneys go into hyperfiltration, creatinine shoots up and GFR shoots down every time people eat something with meat or dairy, every time. Now, if your kidney function is normal, you may not notice the difference until over time it starts to get down. And then in your 60s, you realize your kidney functions at 60% or less. But if you're already in a reduced kidney state and then you're continuing to eat those items, then you can get much sicker much faster. And it's been one of the downsides. I saw somebody posting about, the paleo or carnivore diets and things like that. I've had multiple people come to me with autoimmune disease like lupus who tried first to do something like autoimmune paleo, and the high amount of meat put them into kidney failure. And then they came to me with lupus and kidney failure. So they are definitely the canary in the coal mine when it comes to your nutrition and your health. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go over to Smoothie Shred and see what questions they're asking over here in Smoothie Shred. Okay. All right. All right, let's see. Pierre says, do you have to eat a fat with your vegetable to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins? FYI, I've been on hypernourishing protocol for 5 weeks. I have so much more energy. Thank you. Does hypernourishing help with hearing loss? Thanks. So fat-soluble vitamins do better when you're having some fats in your, when you're eating them. And that's one of the great things about doing the green smoothies, the way we teach them, right? Is that in the smoothie, you're having all of the high nutrient vegetables that have all those vitamins and minerals, right? And on top of that, you have the fats from the flax and chia seeds. And so when you combine those, you have your healing healthy fats, you have your vitamins and minerals, and then you get the water in there too, which helps all of those chemical reactions work better, raises your metabolic rate, and it all works together. That's why we call it the smoothie solution. It really solves a lot of the problems. The biggest problem we had to solve at the time we came up with the smoothie solution was getting people to eat raw vegetables. I love raw vegetables, but boy, oh boy, did I struggle to get folks to actually eat raw vegetables. And the smoothie solution really helped us do all that. Hi, Ross and Chrissy. Let me see here. Okay. Amira says, what should we be looking for in choosing the least harmful hair dye? Does that even exist? So what I'd say is I have not seen someone get their hair dyed and have that have an effect on their ability to heal their autoimmune disease. As you might have noticed, my hair changes very frequently. And while I do go to places where they use plant-based products, like Aveda, for example, I really don't worry about that too much. There was a point in my life where, I was trying to make everything equally natural just in case. And what I came up with is really the best one is henna. Henna comes from plants, and you can get henna dyes, and it just coats the hair follicles. It comes from India, and it's just a plant that has some dye in it that you can use. But at this point, I don't really pay attention to that because I haven't seen it cause any issues with my ability to stay well. So it's so much more important to focus on what you put in your body. That is the biggest, most important thing that you can do to have better health is eat the right foods. Don't put anything bad in your body. Don't smoke. Don't put drugs in there. Don't put, really harmful processed junk in there. Don't put animal products in there. Just go ahead and put the right stuff in, and it will work for you. And that's the most important thing. Okay. Don't know what this question is, Valentine. It just says lupus and pregnancy TOs. I'm not sure what the question is there. Let me see here. Okay. Rose says, hi, Dr. G. I'm 3 months postpartum. I'm breastfeeding. I have about 40 pounds of water weight that hasn't shed after birth, so my mobility is limited. My GFR is normal, but I have protein in my urine and therefore low albumin. Do I need extra protein? Should I reduce water if I gain 10 pounds the last 2 weeks after trying to do the Goodbye Lupus protocol? All right, Rose. So I don't have enough of a picture of everything going on with you. It definitely sounds like you're having a kidney issue. So when it comes to kidney problems, if the kidney becomes damaged enough, you will see it in the blood labs. You will see the creatinine go up. You'll see the GFR go down. You'll see disruptions in your electrolytes like potassium and sodium once it gets really, really significant. But oftentimes the first sign of a kidney issue is just seeing protein in your urine with normal blood labs. And the reason protein in your urine is a problem is because typically it should not be able to get into your urine. So your kidneys are filters. They do a lot of things, but one of the primary things they do on a regular basis is they filter the blood. And so anything that shouldn't be in the blood gets filtered out and sent into the urine. And then it makes sure you keep what you need in your blood, that you have the right amount of electrolytes like potassium and sodium and other things, and excess goes in the urine, right? So if they're not doing the right job, if they're not effective at being able to do their job, you can, like I said, when it's far along, see disruptions in electrolytes, and that can cause things like swelling. Like if you cannot get rid of extra water, for example, the water will end up in your legs. It doesn't sound like that's the reason for this. But the other problem you can see when the kidneys get damaged is protein in the urine, because those filters that the kidneys are, they are really tiny, tiny, tiny holes in there that only your small, tiny electrolytes should be able to get through. But if there's a rip or tear, a big molecule like a protein can get through. The analogy I always use is your screen to your window, right? When you open your window and the screen is there, the holes in the screen are small enough that air can get through, so you can get that nice breeze, right? But they are tiny enough that a fly can't get in. But if you rip a screen, you're going to get that big house fly coming in. So the big house fly is protein. So that's why I'm saying I know there's been damage, because if you're getting those big old house flies of protein in your urine, then there's been some damage. Why? I do not know. It is correct that you should do the Goodbye Lupus protocol to try to heal that. But the other reason that you could be holding water is if you've lost so much protein in your urine, that can actually also cause swelling in your legs. But I don't know why you're having this problem just based off what you wrote. So what do? One, you cut back on the water. You can't do the full protocol with high water. If you're storing the water in your legs instead of it going into hydrating your system properly, then you need to cut back to the amount that works for you. Sometimes emergently, when people losing too much protein too quickly, you can use something like tofu or edamame to try to just buffer it at first. I don't normally do that when people are on full protocol and I'm with them, because when you're working with me, usually the proteinuria slows down very rapidly and blood protein goes up even with just the raw protocol. But since I can't monitor you right now, the fastest way to try to get the protein level back up in the blood would be to eat foods like tofu or edamame that are high in protein. However, understand it's a temporary buffer because you're putting some in and then it's going to fall right back out of the urine again. So that's why also I have big issues when doctors tell people, oh yeah, just eat some eggs or something. Yes, it will temporarily put protein into the blood, and then it causes more damage to the kidney when it falls out, and now they're even worse. At least if you use a plant-based protein, you won't do that. I don't like talking about that too much here because I'm afraid people will be like, oh, I need to eat that stuff. You don't. But if you're looking for a temporary buffer, you can do that while then building on the protocol the rest of the way, and then see me so I can understand and fix this as much as we can so you can enjoy that baby. All right. Valentine, are flax and chia seeds good during pregnancy, lupus? Absolutely. There's been studies around for 20 years showing that high omega-3s in the mom's diet actually increases the IQ of the baby. So much so that my OBGYN, when I was pregnant, told me that my babies were going to be too smart because I was so nourished. She said, they won't be relatable. Why are you being so good? Yeah, absolutely. It's good for you and good for baby. So it's great for while you're pregnant, and it's great for breastfeeding too, because you're giving them those healthy fats. Okay. Valentine Medina, you can absolutely do my protocol while pregnant, and it's great because you're eating the most nourishing diet that optimizes your ability to repair damage to your existing cells, which also gives the nourishment that you can build a good baby out of, right? In fact, all the pregnant women that I've worked with who have reversed their lupus while pregnant also had the healthiest baby. We call them the little green hulks because they are stronger and smarter, faster, fitter. They're amazing. You cannot outsmart these kids. They're really, really, really robust. So you just need to eat more depending on how far along you are. If you're early on, babies this small, you don't need to add that much extra food, right? But people who are in their, late stage of pregnancy, they're eating a whole shopping cart a day, Let me see here. But the best thing is to get rid of the lupus before you give birth. Okay. Annabelle, could this protocol cause a B6 toxicity? Absolutely not. No, it can't. So B6 toxicity comes from overdosing in taking B6 vitamins separately. So our bodies are so good at extracting the vitamins and minerals it needs from natural foods. But when we take a lot of supplements, we now are forcing the body to absorb amounts of a vitamin that it would naturally never absorb. So I have never once seen a B6 toxicity from food, but people often don't realize that they're having multiple sources of B6. So one, I've seen vitamins that were way over the top. If you look online at what the recommendations are by the FDA, people shouldn't really be going over 50 milligrams a day of B6. In the US, they're a little bit more lax, and I've seen some places say not over 100. And then you look in places in Europe and other countries that go never over 50. I always go with the most conservative of the guidelines. So I say don't go over 50. But sometimes people don't realize that I'm taking a B6 supplement and I'm taking a B complex, and then I have a multivitamin with B. And then I have my fortified nutritional yeast, which has the lowest dosage of B vitamins, but still some of it, right? And they didn't realize that they were combining it. By the way, I've never seen anyone get it just from nutritional yeast either, because it's a very small amount of milligrams in there. But yeah, you're supplementing something. It's coming from somewhere. Yeah. Oh, Animal said, thank you. I was worried about seeing this online. Never from food. No. And this is actually, there's been some articles out there too about how there are people who are getting liver inflammation and liver failure from supplements. It's part of the problem when it comes to, even with medicine, right? That I'm really happy that there are now branches of medicine where they're trying to look at the whole body, for example. So there's a branch of medicine called functional medicine that's supposed to be a focus on overall health rather than just medication. But yet a lot of people come to me who go to someone in functional medicine, then they're taking, $1,000 of supplements every month. And so what they found is that when people take too much supplements, they can actually cause liver problems, liver inflammation, even liver failure. So normally you only see that in things like alcohol abuse, or processed foods can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, sugars, but also overdosing supplements. That's why I really don't talk about supplements unless they are ones that I absolutely know you need. Why do I know you need them? Because I've been working with people every day, and I've seen that when people had low levels of those supplements, then they didn't get results, right? So that's why I talk about B12, why I talk about D, that's why I talk about iodine, and even though it's not really a supplement, why I talk about sodium, because I have seen that when people were deficient in these, it dramatically affected their ability to have a healthy immune system and overall health, resistance to disease, infection, all of those things. But other than that, like even in my rapid recovery group, those of you who are in there right now, what's the first thing I said is, unless it's the one I recommended or one you actually need because of a deficiency, like if you're iron deficient, take your iron supplement, please do that. Other than that, just pause the rest, because we don't know what they're doing, what they're interacting with, and why burden your body with so much more than you need. All right. Let me see. All right. And Rose wants to know, what can I do to help my 24-year-old daughter get started since she's not a fan of veggies? Her glucose and weight are high. Ooh, she's already grown. You have so much less power, Mom. Well, one, you can talk to her about why it really matters, not in a judgy way of you really should eat your vegetables, but in a really honest way of, I'm really nervous about your health. Your sugars are high, you're overweight, and I'm scared for your health. In our family, people get diabetes and then they lose their vision and they get heart attacks. And I see you following that path and it scares me to death. And I just want to see you well. Would you be willing to try at least drinking these green smoothies, to see if they can help you with all these things and help you feel better? You would help me sleep at night as a mother, right? See if you can have that conversation. The smoothies are the best way to get in veggies for people who don't like the taste of veggies on their own. And the other is my nutrition, my book, Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious. There's so many awesome recipes in there that just taste really good, like asparagus pesto and cruciferous lasagna and all those different things where they're raw vegetables, but they don't taste like a salad. Maybe you can find something in there that she'd be willing to try, looking together. Do your best. But yes, once you raise them, you got to just hope that you raise them to not only be able to make their own decisions, but be able to come back and reevaluate and reassess, and they know you're always there for them when they're ready. Yeah. Okay, let me see here if I can find any other questions here. All right. Rose wants to know, can I make an appointment with Thomas for my kidneys leaking protein issue? I would say that since you have a normal GFR, he can help you with your nutrition. Yes. Thomas doesn't read lab tests. So, he's not going to be able to read and interpret them. When we do rapid recovery together, I read and interpret the labs, but he's the master of the nutrition. But if you have a normal GFR and no electrolyte deficiency, then he's someone that could potentially help. The problem is with the albumin, I'd rather still do it. I'd rather still be the one. But yes, it's an option for sure. Okay, let's see here. Let's go check out what other people are doing. All right, let's see over here what YouTube's asking about today. All right. So Trini704, first, good job. Since becoming whole food plant-based 9 years ago, before it was cool. Good job. I'm tired, lightheaded, and short of breath with low blood pressure after I eat spring mix, spinach, or Ezekiel bread, beets, or lentils. Why and how to avoid those symptoms and eat more of those things? I do not know. That is very strange to get lightheaded after, because all of those things are very different, right? There's no trend there. Spring mix, mostly lettuce. That's just like a little bit of extra hydration and a couple vitamins. Nothing in there that would affect your blood pressure, make you lightheaded. And then you look at spinach, super high nutrient vegetable. Again, some vitamins and minerals. Nothing that should cause any of those symptoms. Ezekiel bread is just grains. So not really getting any vitamins or minerals, but just some bread. Beets, all right, that's a cruciferous, but again, just a little bit of vitamins. Lentils, that's a legume now. So they're all in different categories, and none of them have anything in them that should cause you to feel lightheaded or short of breath. So that's a very strange thing that I would need to spend some time with you to even try to figure out what you're telling me. Let me see. My blood pressure before I was plant-based was 106/65. Plant-based 100/62, and then I get tired when it's at 90/50. The only thing I can think of is maybe it's not what you think. Maybe it's not actually those foods, but really that when you're eating cleaner, you are not eating, let's say, sodium and getting enough water, because low sodium and therefore when you have less sodium, you're going to hold less water, and that's going to make your blood pressure go down. And that also can cause you to feel lightheaded and tired. So that would cause all of those symptoms that you're talking about, but not Ezekiel bread or spring mix. So my guess is that it's not actually the specific foods, but maybe you're changing something else when you're focusing on those foods, like not getting the sodium intake you need every day. And that's the actual cause of the lightheadedness. And that's, this is one of the things that really makes a big difference. Even in rapid recovery, a lot of times people think their symptoms being caused by one thing because they're so focused on their food that they think it's the food. It's not always the food. It's not always the food. I was talking to someone that had all these symptoms, and she's like, it must be something I'm eating. She had COVID. It wasn't something she was eating. It's COVID. Like, it's a virus. That sometimes we're so focused on the foods that we forget that there's other things that potentially can be causing symptoms. So that's my working theory, having never talked to you about it. So tell me if that resonates, that potentially that could be the problem. All right. Diana wants to know, if I strictly follow fully vegan, Goodbye Autoimmune protocol for a long period of time, excluding grains and legumes, is there a significant risk of developing nutritional deficiencies in the long run, considering I take D, iodine, B12? No. This is really an optimal way of eating. We're talking about eating in a way that gives you more nourishment than anything else you could ever do. So if you're actually doing the protocol correctly, you're more nourished than you've ever been in your life. What people should be asking me is, if I eat nothing but meat and butter every day, for a long time, will I get nutritional deficiencies? Yes, you will. And you will get cancer, and you will get diabetes, and you'll get all sorts of horrible things, right? But when you're eating the best foods on the planet, the reason that they cause reversal of disease is because there's an enormous amount of nourishment that accelerates the body's ability to heal things. So most people do not need to, though. It is so clean and so extreme in terms of its health benefits. It's just not something people need to stay on to maintain health. When you get to your result, you can add those other things back if you want to. But I have other folks who just stay raw and they enjoy their great health and energy that way too. All right. On that same topic, here's the next one. It says, Dr. G, are vegan, carnivore, keto, and other man-made diets created to make money, being that they all cause nutrient deficiencies and are not healthy for humans? Well, now you're looking at the motivation. I am not the person who made those things, so I cannot speak to the motivation of the person who decided to advertise those ways of eating. That said, I think they are promoted because they make money for industry, for sure. I mean, the meat industry, egg, dairy, they're all out there just wanting people to hear about protein, right? I just posted a video about that yesterday. Just, the emphasis on protein, even though there's no protein deficiencies, even when people are raw vegan, there's no protein deficiencies. They are benefiting in a big way. So when people eat that way, the only people who do benefit are the ones who are making money off it. Let's say it that way. We can't speak to the motivation of people who created those diets, but for sure, the only people who benefit from people eating these carnivore, high meat diets are the people who are making money selling those products to people. So yeah, it's a good question. They're definitely not creating any health, that's for sure. Okay. Sonia, Dr. G, I had sleeve surgery in 2011. No problems after. Lost 75 pounds. Need to lose 60 more. I'm pre-diabetic. Blood pressure's creeping up. Any reason I can't do the program successfully? No, I think you really need it. Oh, no, next part. I'm already doing smoothie. Drink a workout. A smoothie drink. I work out with the trainer. I haven't gone beyond nourishment. It's a lot to drink. I'll drink another 35 ounces of water as well. It's one of the best things you can do, because oftentimes when people have gastric surgeries of any kind, including sleeve surgery, the way you lose weight is just by eating less. So one of the problems also even now with the GLP-1 medications is that people are losing weight through starvation. What's frustrating for me about those medicines is a bit of a tangent, but needs to be said, is I feel like it's just creating a painless anorexia. That people are coming to me who are taking these shots and they no longer have an appetite. And so they are comfortable with just not eating anything. And they're starving. And I know all of you have seen celebrities out there. I'm not going to pick on anybody because I think everyone's just trying real hard to do their best and live their lives. But I've seen some celebrities where they are skeletons and they're not eating. You can tell they're not eating and they're not looking healthy. And you can be thin and healthy. I'm pretty small, okay, but I'm healthy and I'm fit and I'm strong and I eat a lot. And this is creating kind of just a way of being anorexic without feeling the pain of it because you don't feel hungry. I had a client come to me who decided to take those to eat less because she was struggling with food addiction. But once she got up to the dose her doctor wanted her to take, she said she stopped eating. She said, all I have to do is have a sip of water and I'm full. And I'm like, no, you have to eat. But it was so easy to lose weight. Just drink water and not be hungry. And so I begged her to lower the dose so that she could still have some appetite to eat. So again, with the sleeve surgeries, which is the first way people were able to be full more easily, you get full faster, which helps you lose weight. But what you put in the belly matters. And I have seen people with gastric bypass or similar surgeries where they're losing weight, but they're getting sicker. They have arthritis, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, diabetes, like you're saying. So we still need to use the nourishment. So a hyper-nourishing plant-based diet, or if you really need to, you can go more aggressive and do the Goodbye Lupus protocol. But if you're just starting to hit that range of pre-diabetic and high blood pressure, hyper-nourishing plant-based diet would be the way to go. But if you don't have a lot of space in your stomach, prioritize the nourishing foods. All right, let's see here. All right, let's look over at Instagram. Hey, Instagram, how are you all doing today? Let me pull that screen up. All right. All right, Health Mama wants to know, can you talk about the best foods to start step down? And are these okay in time? So sourdough with fresh milled flour, raw olive oil, nut butters, Ezekiel tortillas, oat milk. So step down, for those of you who aren't familiar, would be if you're doing the full Goodbye Lupus protocol, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, and you're eating raw and you're trying to get your disease reversed as quickly as possible. Once you get to the result, I feel great, my labs look great, I'm ready to move on with my life, right? Then we call it step down, meaning you can start to add in other foods that don't provide all that nourishment, but maybe you just like them. They make it easier to go out to eat. They have more flavor, there's nice satiety. So cooked vegetables, starches, legumes, and unprocessed grains are all a part of step down. Now, I like to see people live in step down. Really, that's the healthiest way to continue to keep your health. But at least maintain that with no processed foods, no oils, nothing unhealthy for at least 6 months to prove your disease is really gone, unconscious, down for the count, right? If you add in things that are inflammatory too quickly, you can undo it. So what most people find is that when they do my full Goodbye Lupus or Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, usually their symptoms and their labs get better so quickly that even though they've been sick for years, they may already be symptom-free in a matter of weeks or a couple months. But that doesn't mean that every single part of the disease is completely gone yet. It's just that now it's not detectable anymore. But when you're putting out a fire, you want to make sure the embers are out too, right? You put water over those embers at a campfire so it can't reignite. So step down is like that. You want to make sure those embers are out so anything you add doesn't have any inflammation in it, nothing that can relight that fire of inflammation and autoimmune again. So looking at your list, Then sourdough would be a recreational food, meaning after that 6 months is up, don't eat any breads like that during the step down period. And olive oil would not be part of step down. Nut butters can be if there's no oil added. You know, sometimes they'll put in other, like sunflower oil, other things, but fresh nut butters are okay. Ezekiel bread, because it's just sprouted grain with no oil or sugar, but the tortillas I would not. Oat milk I would, if there's no sugar in it, you could potentially do oat milk during step down. But it's really about the period of locking in your health. You don't want to mess with it. Okay. All right, Janet wants to know, can you talk about acid reflux? I'm finding it hard. So that is a huge topic. I don't know specifically what about acid reflux. So people can get acid reflux from a lot of different issues. You can have H. pylori infection. You can have high stress. You can have really unhealthy foods, high oil, animal-based foods, things like that can cause it. Also, excessive caffeine intake. Boy, when I was a medical student, I had some terrible reflux when I was drinking coffee all the time. So there's a lot of things that can cause it. There's also can be that you have your stomach is actually pushing up against your esophagus and it's getting squeezed a bit, and that can cause acid to push up from the stomach into the esophagus as well. So there's so many things. Oh, there can be the esophageal sphincter may not close all the way, and that can mean some acid can come in. So there's so many things that can either cause or exacerbate reflux. When I took prednisone, that made my reflux worse. When I tried back in the day, this was many years ago, one of those medications for osteopenia after I had all the chemotherapy and the steroids, oh my God, couldn't sleep because of the reflux. So there's many, many, many things. So what can you do? Well, one, you can do food spacing. Well, one, take out all the inflammatory stuff and make sure you're not having more than 1 cup of caffeinated beverage a day. Tea usually doesn't cause the same burning as coffee does. 2, having small meals. So having small meals throughout the day rather than big meals, nothing that stretches your stomach and makes your stomach so full that it puts pressure on the esophagus to push some of that acid back up again. That can really make a big difference too. And, you know, it shouldn't be used every day, but once in a while, if you're having some burning, taking a half teaspoon of baking soda in some water, mix it up and drink it, and that will bring the acid down. If you do it all the time, then your body will just start making more acid to try to fight back. It's like, oh, it's way too neutral in the stomach. But as a rescue, I like that as an alternative to something like Tums that also has sugars and things in it as well. And usually works pretty quickly. So hopefully that gives you some of the answers you're looking for. Camille Yunk 11. Once someone is healthy, is it fine to consume egg if it's in a dish or baked good? Do you ever do this? It's kind of like asking me if I had emphysema or an inflammatory lung condition from smoking and I got healthy. I quit smoking. I got healthy. My lungs are doing great. My PFTs are good. My MRI looks great. Can I add back the occasional cigarette? Will that be okay? You see, it's the same thing. If you know something is inflammatory and unhealthy and you take it out to get healthy, why do you want to add it back in? Right? So for me, no, I don't do that. But what I can say is that when I first got healthy, if you don't know my story, I didn't know at the time that my diet was reversing the lupus. All I knew is that I changed to this raw way of eating. I lost all this weight and then my lupus labs were negative, but I didn't make the connection right away that it had to be my diet. I don't know if it was some kind of weird remission. I wasn't sure. And so after I got well, in the initial few months later, I reached my goal weight, which was the reason that I changed my diet. Was I was a vegetarian. I wanted to lose fat. Thomas Tadlock said all the saturated fat you're eating between dairy and the eggs has to go. And boom, he was right. And I got well. And I lost all the weight. So I did add eggs back initially, not knowing that it had anything to do with my autoimmune disease or anything like that. And what happened is I immediately got back a symptom. I don't even think I wrote about this in my book all those years ago, but I had cystitis. So I would get inflammation in my bladder and a severe burning that felt like a UTI, a urinary tract infection, but it wasn't an infection. My urine was clean, but it was inflammation of the bladder. It's excruciating. And that symptom had gone away as well. And then when I added the egg back, it came back. And then I went to a urologist. They said you're inflamed. They put steroids up my urethra, which is so painful. And then I broke out in hives, and she fired me as a patient. My urologist fired me, and I was still having burning urine. But she said, if you can't tolerate the steroids in your urethra, I have nothing else I can do to help you. Sorry. And I cried. I actually hung up the phone and I cried. I was in my office as a resident at work, and I was crying. How could she abandon me when I'm still in pain? Like, can't we work together and find something? So I came home and I cried to Thomas. I said, I don't know what to do. I'm in so much pain, and it had been gone for so long, and now it's back. And Thomas went, what's weird is that that was gone for so long, and the only thing you had ever changed was your diet. Is it possible that you added something back? I said, the only thing I had was eggs, and I took it out, and immediately it went away. I waited like 3 weeks, made eggs one more time, next day burning again, and then took them out forever. And then it wasn't until probably another year after that when we started looking at nutrition, when we realized my diet was what reversed my disease, and we started looking at nutrition inflammation, did we realize that, oh my gosh, that's what had happened. And thank goodness, if I hadn't had the burning urine, maybe I would have gotten my labs back to positive again, and I never would have known it was diet. So yes, I did try it back all those years ago. Probably, I guess that was like 2006. But that was before I knew better. And now that I know better, no chance at all. So that's not something I would do or recommend. Why? Once you know the truth about what these things are doing to us, why invite it back in? There's so much better ways to feel good and to enjoy food. And there are plant-based alternatives now. There are vegan egg products that are made of mung bean, chickpeas. You can make your own. So there's always other options, and I recommend anything else. All right. Hi, Lady Prague. All right, let's see who else is here. Okay. Definitely. So Great Food USA, definitely don't do like I see research my blood type, found soy is my iron. So the blood type diet is not scientific, and it's not correct. So you don't, anybody can eat this way and recover. So I'm glad you're enjoying my advice. It said great advice, you're fire. I appreciate that. And it's not a blood type thing. So you don't have to eat soy if you don't want to, but we all are meant to eat the same diet. And can you imagine, think of it this way. We know blood types now because of current technology, but before we developed the technology to test blood types, how would we have known what to eat? It doesn't make sense that our blood type would dictate our food when there's no way to even know your blood type unless you get a test and you live in the modern world. It's just, there's the right foods for all of us, and we can eat those. Now, once we've disrupted our body, we have more food sensitivity issues. So sometimes people will have a food sensitivity where they don't feel good eating a certain food, like a tomato, for example, but that doesn't mean tomatoes are bad. It just means for that person, they have a sensitivity to tomatoes. I personally ate tomatoes every day, reversing lupus, never had an issue, right? So I go by the symptoms when it comes to food sensitivities. Okay, let me see. Oh, Lady Light, that's cool. You're going to shoot a video for me? Yes, I appreciate that so much. I'm always happy to see that. When people make videos, it's so much more interesting than me just telling their story, right? Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. All right, and 5AK Shatum, hello, I recently started your smoothie. I have seborrheic dermatitis. Awesome, I hope that you're doing well and enjoying the results there. You'll find results all throughout your body. Let's see here. All right, and B. Tesh says, I've just been diagnosed at 61 with lupus, sudden onset. I started the diet, but I'm also on steroids and Plaquenil. Will I still get the benefit? Yes. So there is, while most people develop lupus when they are in their younger years, teens, 20s, there's also another peak that happens in the 60s. So it could be that you just developed autoimmune. It also can happen as a reaction to a medication. There's drug-induced lupus, for example. But whatever the reason, you're on the right path. So I'm glad that you found me and that's what you're doing. That's fantastic. All right, let's see. Let's look over at Facebook. All right, Facebook people. I didn't forget you. Here we go. see if I can find, here we go. Okay, Nadine wants to know, my GFR went down a few points from taking magnesium oxide regularly for constipation. Is at 88. I'll stop the supplement immediately. Hypernourished. Will my function go back up to where it was? It used to be at 96. Follow-up creatinine is 0.8. This is another case where I don't know if it was really what you think it was. I have not seen people lose kidney function taking magnesium. And I have a lot of folks who will take magnesium. Magnesium oxide, usually people will take for headaches. Sometimes people take magnesium citrate for constipation, but I've never seen it cause their GFR to go down. So what I would do is just recheck it and see where it is. Sometimes one test can be off just because of your hydration or something else. So I would retest it and see where you stand, but it's not necessarily from that. But if it's something temporary, level of hydration, some inflammation, an infection, then it should be able to bounce back up. I also don't know the last time you tested it. So if you tested it and it was 96, but that was a year ago, and then you recently tested it and it was 88, we don't know when that happened and if it was from your supplement or something else. But yeah, totally go ahead and stop it just in case, see where it goes to. But it's not something I typically would see. I don't know what dosage you were doing, if there was any possibility that that happened, but I can let you know that that's not something I typically see. Okay, let's see here. Angela says, I get terrible sugar cravings and I have lupus. Yes, and when you have lupus, often they put you on medicines that make you crave it more, right? Like prednisone really causes cravings. And it's really important that we do everything we can to acknowledge the craving, but not give into it. The good news is sugar cravings get better with time, okay? So the first few weeks to a month is usually the worst, but if you do not give in, those cravings start to calm down. So you stay full of the good foods, and then you get your dopamine and excitement some other way. Do things that make you feel good. So when you're having that sugar craving, you make sure you're full, so you're definitely not hungry. Do something for fun. You know, whatever it is that creates novelty and excitement is going to give you a much longer lasting buzz than sugar. Sugar gives you a buzz for a few seconds, and then there's all the remorse and the withdrawal and then the damage. But when you have something really exciting give you dopamine, like going to an escape room. Solomon and Thomas and I are addicted to escape rooms. I think we've done all of them in the area and the local areas and surrounding areas. We are unbeatable. We absolutely love it. We love it. We love it. And they're so exciting. We check the time and we got to solve the problems. And wait, this is a puzzle. Solomon, you grab it. No, this is math. Thomas, that's you, right? And we absolutely love it. It's so exciting. And then we feel happy for the next few days talking about it, reminiscing about it. Going to a concert, just went to a comedy show over the weekend. So much fun. Went to a festival with other friends. When you do that and you start getting your dopamine in that way, you stop craving the sugar because you're getting fulfilled. Another great way, high intensity exercise. Your brain will always want the dopamine, but you can choose where to get the source and allow the lupus to get better. So that's really an important thing. Oh, thank you, Rhonda Ziegler. Appreciate you. Let me see here. Oh, and Louisa Henning says, hi, Dr. G, how do I stop arguments that my relatives would start as they do not accept my way of eating? At the moment, it's very hard to defend myself, and I do look sick. I'm not very confident, but I don't want to defend myself. Well, my answer is you don't really have to defend yourself. It takes two people to argue, right? So if somebody says, I don't like the way you eat, you can go, okay, and walk away. You don't have to defend it. Or you can say, I get that. And if you want to understand what I'm doing, I can give you some resources. I can show you these classes. I can give you a book. But it's my body. I'm making a choice and you're making yours. So I'd rather change the subject. Another way is, this is what I'm doing is really hard. You don't have to understand it to support me, but I really could use the support. I would love some encouragement and support. So you can cheer me on, or you can just be quiet about it. I call it support me or shut up, but that's the New Yorker in me, right? But the nicer way to say it is you don't have to understand it to encourage me and support me because it matters to me. But it might be that they are actually really concerned, in which case you could say, hey, I get it. I have some resources to show you what I'm doing. Or you can always work with me, when people come to work with us and especially when people in rapid recovery, I always tell them, listen, if somebody questions you when you go to their house and you're just eating salad and says, how do you get your protein? How do you go this? You can go, I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but I have one who's telling me what to eat. So she knows the reasons why and how it works. I just follow instructions. And that way you're off the hook. You know, if you ask me how to drive, I can tell you how to drive. If you ask me how the engine works, no idea. Right? I don't need to know how the engine works to be able to drive the car. And you don't need to know all the science behind nutrition and the Goodbye Lupus protocol in order to be able to do it. So you can lean on that too, that I'm following a scientist who knows all this information. But if you're worried that you might not be getting it right or eating enough, then that's easy. Make an appointment with Thomas or myself. And then you can say, I'm actually seeing the experts who are making sure I'm getting my nourishment. And sometimes that'll take some of the criticism off. But the fastest answer is you don't need to defend yourself. Let me see here. Ellen wants to know, can someone in their 60s supplement with creatine and glycine daily? There's no reason that you can't. The only people I tell not to use the creatine are people who have really reduced kidney function, because it will obscure your actual kidney function when we take the lab. Because when you take creatine, it's great for muscle strength, it's great for brain energy. It's nice. It's a really nice supplement. But since creatine gets turned into creatinine in the stomach, then if you had just taken some of that supplement and then you got a blood test, it could make it look like your creatinine is higher than it is. So in the beginning of this Wellness Wednesday, I was showing you how creatinine shows us kidney function, and you calculate the GFR based off the creatinine, right? So for example, the person who was asking me earlier about her GFR going down and thinking it's magnesium, if you were taking creatine, that could also make it look that way, because the creatinine will then show up on the blood test, and then they calculate the GFR and it goes, oh my gosh, your GFR went down. No, it's just the supplements making it look like you have more creatinine in your system than you really do. So if you have a blood test, if you want to know your real kidney function, stop the creatine for at least a week before you get that test, so that you don't affect that lab. Okay. All right. But other than that, you can go for it. All right. Let's see. Okay, and Julie wants to know, Julie, Friends, Holly, how do you change it up to eat raw every day? I started losing my appetite after so much. Personally, I don't change things up very much. So I think there's like two camps people fall into. I think most of us eat the same stuff every day, whether you're plant-based, meat-based, raw, cooked. Most folks kind of have a routine of eating the same stuff every day. I know I do. I've had the same smoothie recipe I've made forever with very little deviation. The deviation is mostly about which greens were available. My salads are pretty much the same every day. Even the cooked foods, normally the same rotation of things. That's just what I eat. It's not, I'm not a chef. I'm not looking for the excitement. This is just my food. So for most people, you get your favorite breakfast you have and your favorite lunch and your favorite snacks, and maybe one or two things gets changed up. Maybe your dinner's changed up a couple days a week. So for most folks, I think we just have our favorites. But if you're one of those people who want something different every day, that you need the excitement, then that's why I have stuff like my Goodbye Lupus Hello Delicious book. So my recipe book, you can literally have a different meal every night, whether it's different salads like citrusy kale ribbon salad, crunchy cauliflower bok choy medley, chopped salad, mango cabbage salad. But then you can also have zucchini noodles, collard spring rolls, collard wraps, sushi rice made with cauliflower, cauliflower risotto, cruciferous lasagna, cauliflower slaw, right? Tasty cabbage tacos. So if you want variety and you still want to get all the food in, use that book. I mean, the only reason I released that book was because of demand from folks like you, where I'm like, I just drink smoothies and just throw some cabbage slaw into a bowl and make my favorite dressing, and that's it. I just maintain, I'm just riding that. It just works. But if you like a lot of different things, then you could just literally use that book. And the cool thing is, you're pretty much using the same ingredients, but making different types of things. My thought underneath all of that is maybe you don't really need that much variety in your food. Maybe you just need more excitement in your life, because I know my life, I do lots of fun and exciting things. So I don't really need my food to entertain me. So it makes me wonder if maybe you just need to go and have some more fun, and that way you'll be less concerned about your food really serving that role for you. So, so that would be my suggestion, but both will work. You can do both. Oh, it's Lucio. Good seeing you yesterday. Mario's all on board. All right. That's awesome. I'm so excited for all of you. That's great. Okay. Let's see here. All right. I think that is pretty much as far as I can go for today. You guys had so many great questions. Oh man, Courtney's saying eggs gave me interstitial cystitis too. Yeah, it is really, yeah, it's not good for us. It's not good for us. So I just saw, I have to go, but I have to tell you this really quick. I just saw an article about a company that's growing actual egg protein in a petri dish. That it's identical to egg protein. So they found the DNA sequence of egg protein, and they're growing it in a petri dish, and they're selling this product. It's like an egg powder that's made of, it's a vegan egg powder, but it's actual egg protein. And so you can use it the same way you use eggs. Like, it says you can, mix it into any recipe, this and that. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it won't solve the problem of just, the irritation. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought. Definitely it's great for the people who are trying to just eliminate all animal products, not just for health, but for ethical reasons. They don't want to, the egg industry has a lot of cruelty, stuff like that. Then that is like the perfect solution for people who think they need the protein, want it to be from eggs, but want it to be cruelty free. But in terms of health, I don't see the point. But I just thought it was kind of cool that it was just, they're finding new ways that are more sustainable. It's a lot easier to get unlimited amounts of that in a lab than it would be unlimited amounts relying on chickens. But I just found that really interesting, and I just saw that today. So I don't know, wanted to share that. But personally, still wouldn't do it. Just like when they, now they're growing, they're doing, what do you call it? Like they're basically growing animal meat, but from a petri dish as well, basically like 3D printers, like they're printing meat, but it never came from an animal. It was made in a lab. So it's identical in terms of its contents and probably then its taste. But personally, I would never eat it because it's no longer even palatable to me, first of all. And second of all, I don't want that inflammation in my body. But the world has become really interesting in terms of food. I say keep it simple, eat the foods that nourish you, optimize your health, because, we don't know how long we have on this planet, but I want to maximize my time here. Figure I spent a good dozen years being sick with kidney problems and blood clots and arthritis and all that. I want to spend as much time as I can feeling amazing. And nutrition is doing that for me. And hopefully it's doing it for you too. So I hope that helped. I had so much fun hanging out with you all today. I will see you next Wednesday, and be kind with your April Fools. My friend gave me a mean one this morning, and be kind. All right. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.